Hi folks, welcome to NI Survival here. I'm going to look at some fire lighting. Numerous people have contacted me on Facebook. Thanks very much for that. It's great to hear from you. Keep up the photographs and whatever else you're actually doing while you're in lockdown. Bushcrafting, whether it's inside the house or outside the house, doesn't really matter. So fire lighting, when we start off, heat of the sun. Okay, so we've got the sun coming into the right hand side. So first thing we look at this is a parabolic mirror. This one has been made specifically for the task of lighting fire. Here's one we made earlier. This is basically just a headlight out of an old car. So we're going to give it a go. What I'm going to use here is charred cloth. I will put a video up on how to actually produce charred cloth. Yeah, it's one of those things we do get asked quite a lot about. And basically what I'm doing here is stick it into the bottom of this mirror. What I then need to do is I need to focus this on the sun. Now this takes a wee bit of practice just. So I can get the sun. I need to reflect the sun's rays from here, the inside of this, and it's going to then direct the sun's rays onto the bottom of this, and it's going to just basically just concentrating the sun's rays as best it can onto this piece of charred cloth. It takes a bit of moving about to try and get it on, and there we go. See if you can see that. Yeah, piece of charred cloth. Now what I would probably do with it is I'd probably put it into maybe a piece of birch bark. I'll have a piece of something here. Really not intending to blow too much up into flame with this type of thing. There's an old piece of a bag. We'll have a go at that and see if we can just let you see that it is actually burn. I'll scrunch this up a bit. That's where the difficult bit comes, is actually getting it out. What I like to do, the fact that you've actually got this, small part of the mirror, and just tap it out onto the actual paper. And that would be us, we'd be starting to blow then and blowing the whole thing up into some form of flames, or just let the wind at it there. You see the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to start to flame up. So that's looking at tinder, which I will discuss in a wee bit more depth. Tinder and how to blow things up. Getting flames out of things. Where to actually hold it at, how to hold it, how to compress it. And the levels that you need to have this stuff at to actually get stuff to burn. This piece of paper's not always the best thing for tinder. Simple fact is because some paper is impregnated with different things to make them less flammable, obviously in these days. This paper bag probably not go up into flame. Certainly does a lot of smoking anyway. Oh, there's a flame. Prove me wrong, but there we go. So that's a paper bag with lip. So that was the parabolic mirror. Yeah, this is one of the things we would show on our courses, get people to practice. Obviously it does need the sun. It's not overly warm today, a big coat on, but it just needs the power of the sun. The other thing you can use is an old headlight. Yeah, so same thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of this charred cloth in the middle just before this sun disappears, and let's see if I can get it radiating onto that. to go now. Okay, so it takes a wee bit of fiddling. But there you can see we're glowing again. Yeah. Alright guys, so that was looking at the parabolic mirror, and we also did this as well. The headlight. Next, what does everybody always ask for? Aha! Stihl's spark based fire lighting. Okay, so you have different types of spark based fire lighting that you can actually do. A lot of what we do these days is usually like what they call flint and steel, which is basically taking a piece of flint, piece of steel, and getting some sparks off it. Generally that comes in contact with char cloth again. Other ways of spark based fire lighting is using things like birch bark. Yeah. Piece of birch bark and using the old ferro rod. Again, striking sparks like that into it. Going back further than that, before all of this, we had this. This is marcasite. Some people refer to it as rose gold, iron pyrites. This is a piece of marcasite and a piece of flint, and we're striking the two together again to try and get the sparks out of it. So we'll leave this one simply till the last, and we'll start off with the newer type first of all. First thing I'm going to do, however, is I need to get myself, in fact, I was going to say I need to get myself a small knife. I really don't. I've got a piece of flint, so I can use flint instead. So preparation is the key whenever you're doing any type of fire lighting. Most people will fail at lighting a fire because they haven't prepared correctly. All I'm doing here is looking at tinders, on using these types of fire lighting skills on different types of tinders. I will do a video on getting a fire going and how to position everything, but think about this here, is this is just, think of the whole wheel as being the fire. This is just a part of the wheel. You could be fantastic at the mechanisms of getting the fire going, yeah, the heat side of things, but when it comes to getting the rest of the fire going, that's when the problems usually start, and that's when people use things like firelighters and cotton wool and lots of matches. Some people use petrol, gas, whatever it's going to be. If preparation's right, then you're not going to fail at getting the fire going, to be honest with you, if you prepare it right. So first thing I'm going to do, piece of birch bark, I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare my birch bark. So I'm simply going to take a sharp edge of this flint and I'm scraping up the birch bark. What I want to do is create small feathers in the birch bark. Okay. The bigger surface area a match has to actually, as in a flatter surface area, the harder it's going to be. If it's got lots of little tiny fronds, lots of little tiny bits of surface that it can actually attract to, that's when we're hopefully going to get it to actually light. And it's getting yourself comfortable, taking your time, scraping this up, getting ready to prepare for what's coming next. Okay, so we're going to look at the ferro rod. Some people call it a fire steel, some people call it strike-a-light, some people, there's so many different names out there. We've no connection for any type of advertising with anybody, but what that allows us to do is, I can tell you what works for us, and we have tried quite a lot. Okay? I can tell you the ones that work for us. And the ones that we find that work the best are the Light My Fire steel from Light My Fire. I've tried so many different types of fire steels, and a lot of them, they're either too hard, they're too soft, you can't control where the spark is going, and that's one of the key things you want to be able to control whenever you strike this, is where that spark's going. Some are great, they've lots of sparks. The problem is that the sparks go everywhere, and no matter how much you try to control them into that one crucial spot, the sparks go everywhere. And that's what this, the key to this about is getting the sparks into that one crucial little spot that we want to get the fire going on. Yeah, we want to get all the fire, all the flames, or all the steel, all the ignited pieces of ferrocerium into that one spot. Basically, this rod is made of, it's an alloy of different metals. Yeah, and whenever you shave these off, a bit like iron, whenever you shave these off, when they get really, really small, they react to the air and they start to glow. And that's really it. So to start off with, this is how I simply use it. I usually use my knife whenever I'm doing this because I seem to be able to control it a lot more. But you might not have a knife, so let's go over this way. I like to position the end of it in. So this is where my tiny little area is. And I like to start off by trying my best to not make any sparks, by just shaving off tiny, tiny portions of the rod. But I want with that, oh there we go, they all burnt up round, which is very difficult because this is such a good fire stain. But what I want to do is I want to collect all those little pieces into one area, as you can see. And when I get them into that one area, they will start to then ignite. So even if there's pieces fall off it, what I don't want to be doing is standing here and doing this. Yeah, if I want to, I can hold this steady and I can pull back on that, whatever suits me best, as long as I'm not disturbing my bundle. Once I start to duck my bundle out the road, that's when the problems start. Make sure your bundle has got a nice amount of feathers into it. Okay, so I basically just scraped up bits of birch bark there. That hopefully will ignite. Yeah. When it does, I want to have something sitting waiting for it. So all my other preparation will have done. This is the last link. This is the last part of this circle, if you will, that chain reacts, the rest of it starting to go together. So this is the last bit that I should have ready. Everything else should be done. I should have my fire, my lay down, I should have all my twigs, my different types of kindling grated. It should all be sitting just ready for me to put this onto it. Okay. If I wanted to, I could probably lift a piece of wood and I could put this onto the piece of wood and then I could escort it to my fire. I could have it in a large piece of birch bark. Yeah, and again, same thing. I could get this ignited, get a large piece of birch bark or something else, torch that up so that it's going to stay flaming, and then I can present that to my fire. We don't throw things at fires. We set the fire correctly and we place things onto them. Yeah, you always take care with it whenever you start with. So let's see if we can get some fire going. So simply, I'm just going to strike a few little bits down into this first of all, as easily as I can, and then I'm going to start striking sparks into it, see if we can get it to go. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the way. So now what I want to do is I want to add another piece of birch bark to this, because look how quickly. Now the other thing you notice with birch bark is it has this tendency to roll up. So fold it if you can, but very, very quickly. There we've got. And it's quite hot, yeah. So a few small strikes. If I'm sitting and I'm striking from way up here, this type of thing is not going to work. You can go down and do lots and lots of strikes if you want. If that's how it gets it going, great. But just be careful with it. Be prepared with it. Don't just inanely strike sparks all over the place, hoping one will get in there. Have a purpose to what you're actually doing. You know, be meaningful whenever you're putting the fire together. Yeah, because after all, fire is a living thing, and it should be very, very, very well respected. It can help, it can save people, it can help us in different types of situations. We use it every day, whether we like it or not, in different forms. But can also is a great destroyer as well. So it can destroy things very, 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 very quickly. So with lots and lots and lots of respect for fire, okay, but it is necessary. So that's the ferro rod for a Coname rod. Go on to any of some of the bushcraft sites. I don't know. Bushcraft store probably have them. There's other places in England you can buy them. You can buy them off Amazon. I would be careful, however, in some of the other ones you want. For instance, we have a multitude of different fire styles. Let's see if I have any of these other ones here. Okay, so that those, like my fire, come in the different types. So you've got the Scout, which is slightly smaller, and then you have got the Army, I think it's called, or the Military, or something, which is bigger. This is like a 30,000. I think this is like 130,000. Yeah, I think last time I looked at these here, they were maybe between 15 and 20 pound, that type of thing. These ones here, I think you can get them from about 10 to 15 pound. Yeah, and usually come with a wee striker. I know that they are now starting to come with recyclable, non-plastic ends as well. And this one also comes, I think, it's got a wee whistle. Right? There we go. So, fire steels, ferroconium rods, versonium rods, whatever you want to call them, they'll do the same thing. So that's a couple of things we've looked at. Spark based again, so that it's now, the next I'm going to look at is fire steel, or flint and steel. Let's call it flint and steel, because it is a piece of steel, a piece of flint. This is one I made myself, just a piece of old high carbon steel that was kicking about. Just stuck it into the forge, and pretend forge behind me, twisted it up, made it look nice. Something that I can hold, because I'm going to be striking this on a piece of flint. If you're going to get yourself one, make sure it's reasonably large. If you're going to get your kid one, a slightly smaller one, like that one there would probably, my sons use this one all. In fact, they've got two that are pretty much the same as this, and they have them away with them. A decent sized piece of flint, and what you were looking for is what happens in the process is I want a sharp edge, a reasonably sharp edge on this piece of flint, and what I want to strike onto it. Now, what I always say to people when I'm teaching is, strike onto it and try to just miss, because generally when you just miss, you actually hit it. We're not looking you to smash this into it. We're not looking heavy blunt blows onto it, because all that's going to do is fragment the edge of this. What we're looking to do is just off the side of it, because what's actually happening is this isn't the flint that's breaking really too much, it's the steel. And as the steel contacts the flint is harder, so it shaves off tiny proportions of the actual steel itself. These again react with the air, because they're so small, they react with the air and they start to glow. Okay, they start to glow. And what we want to do is get as many as we can. Now what you find is some people will try and put the char cloth below the flint, but what actually happens as I strike this is it jumps up. So where I want it is just at the edge. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. So I have a small piece of char cloth here. I just want a small slither of it, because what I want to do is find my little edge. Again, be particular with what you're actually striking onto, because sometimes it can help. So there's a nice sweet edge there. Okay guys, and I want it right up to the edge, right close to the edge, but not on the edge. Okay, I'll come around and show you that, because I might actually do this here if I can see it in front of the camera. Okay. So you just want it right on the edge like that, and then you just position your thumb. Yeah. If I cover the edge, I'm going to knock the actual char cloth, and I'm not going to get sparks. Too far away, and one of my sparks might not land, so I want to give it its best chance possible. Okay. So from here, I'm going to be striking down onto it. Let's see if I can get this in. And there we go. So there we go. That's it in a nutshell. Okay. You can see it starting to glow there. So that's your char cloth again. Yeah. So really what I'm doing here today is I'm showing you the process of these things, really how to do them, so you can go and have a go yourself, and try it out yourself. You can. For this, an old file, if you have a really old file somewhere and an old vise or something out there, and you can snap the file in half and get a section about that size of the file, it works, because it's hardened carbon. It's really hard steel. Some people use the back of their knife. Yeah, if needs must. Problem using the back of your knife is generally the blade's going to be in your hand, which there's a chance is if you do it wrong, either the knife's going to fly at your hand and break it, damage the knife, damage yourself, cut yourself, or slice your hand. Yeah, my knife certainly won't do it with it because it's razor sharp, and if I slip at all or grab it, it's going to injure me. If you have like a pocket knife which has got a folding pocket knife with a carbon steel edge on it, good job. Yeah, you might be able to use that. Again, you will damage it. You will knock pieces of the steel, because that's what's actually happening, is the steel is coming off. But needs must, if you have something like that you can do it with. Personally, I just have an old piece of steel, that you can get from anywhere. Some of those markets, Nuts Corner, or some of those places like that there, you can get old bits of files and stuff like that there for a couple of quid, maybe 5 or 6 steels out of it, So, flint is the hardest thing to get. Usually, most people don't seem to know where to get it. There's the postcard, we'll tell you well. Okay, so lots and lots of sparks. Now it does need, with that type of, still going, still burning, we'll put that into the bag. With this, what was I going to say there? I was going to say, yes, with this type of firelighting here, the flint and steel, because the sparks are so low heat value, they will light the char cloth, but if this gets wet, it's done. If char cloth gets damp, That's it. There ain't no drying it out, guys. You can try all your best to dry char cloth out. Believe me, I have tried it. It turns into dust, and it doesn't keep itself. Like if I get this and I start to crumble at it now, it will crumble up. You imagine what happens whenever that gets damp, and then you dry it out again. Think of a piece of paper, when that happens to it, the whole thing just fragments and falls into dust, so it's no good. You can use different types of things. You could use, well, if you can get them, this is what they call King Arthur's cakes, cramp ball, concentric and mushroom, or fungus. You could strike sparks onto that. With this here, it can be done. It's quite difficult because you're trying to get that spark to jump up onto it. I'm not going to sit here and attempt it in camera because we'll probably be here for about 20 minutes, me just sitting striking this here, so there's not much point. With the ferro rod, absolutely. You find one of these. If you find one and it's over in Northern Ireland, tell me please, so I can go and look for more, because they're very, very difficult to find over here. If you find one or you have one, you can strike your spark straight onto that, yeah, and it will start to glow for you. So just using your fire steel. Bow drill fire lighting, yes, this can be used, but again, like the char cloth, once this is gone and it's nice and dry, if you get it wet again, it's dust. Okay, it's not going to work for you. You're going to have real problems whenever you try to dry this stuff out. So it needs to be good quality as well. So as everyone says, keep your powder dry and keep your tinder drier. Okay, because it's a very important thing. That may be another thing you could be looking at, is how to get something to use to keep your tinder dry. Right now, last thing I'm going to look at is marcasite. Now, I could try it on char cloth, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into something else. Bear with me. And we're back. Alright. Okay, so this is a piece of true tinder fungus. Excuse me, chaga, as some people refer to it as. You're going to have great difficulty in Northern Ireland or even the south of Ireland for finding this, because it really doesn't grow over here. Generally found on dead birch trees. Northern Scotland is where I got mine. Russia, across there, Eastern Bloc countries, you get lots of it. I'm told, I've never been there, so I don't know 100%. But brilliant stuff. Make tea out of it. The tea made from this is delicious, by the way. I always resist myself because I have a bit of it there. I need to get some more, but it is absolutely fantastic for making a nice medicinal tea. So there you go. Lots of health benefits apparently. Right, I'm going to get, okay, like before, a bit of preparation. Now, this will take a minute or two. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop this here, and I will start a new one on the marcasite and the chaga. Okay guys, so stay tuned for part 2 of Firelighting Skills from Bushcraft at Home. See you soon.